Good morning. I am Steve Weber, and welcome to the American Gumption Morning Show here on Spirituality Gone Wild and also on the Facebook and YouTube American Gumption pages. So if you are a subscriber, then great. Thank you. And if you're not, please click the subscribe button and you'll be able to watch day in and day out. So we come to you typically Monday through Friday, at least 4 days a week, and it broadcasts from 10 to 11 a.m. on the East Coast, 7 to 8 a.m. on the West Coast. So anyway, good. So hey, today is Wednesday, and it's January 20th. Hey, it's inauguration day, so big day in the U.S. So I have a monologue to do, and it's going to be on tolerance. And I'm doing something I didn't quite ever do before exactly, but I'll explain that as I get into the monologue in just a minute. We have a special, well, the first time we have a new segment, and it's a person who has been on the show twice, and she's going to start doing a regular, probably a monthly segment, probably on Wednesdays, and she'll be joining us at about 15 past the hour, and then do about a 10-15 minute segment, and that's going to happen a once a month. That's going to become a regular feature here. And then my guest today, and I didn't say who she was, so I'll tease that and let you be surprised in a minute or two if you don't know, if you haven't read the show notes, if you haven't seen in the show description who it is that's coming up. Alrighty, and then Tammy Joy Lane is going to join us at about half past the hour, and she'll be she'll be joining us. So Tammy's been a guest here. It was almost 100 shows ago when she first appeared on the show. So we're going to check back in with her and let her bring us up to date on what's going on. We have a topic discussion, leaving space for other people to be human. So we'll get into that. All righty. Now, let me just tell you what's happening the rest of this week. Tamra Oviatt is going to be on the show tomorrow, and her special brand of connecting with spirit is sacred activations. And so I'm excited to interview Tamra. She was going to be on last week, but we had to reschedule for this week. So she'll be on tomorrow's show, Tamra Oviatt. Alrighty. And then on Friday, our very own Debbie G, Spirituality Gone Wild's very own Debbie G, the founder of Spirituality Gone Wild, will be joining us on Friday. And she's going to give us an update on where the organization is headed and what kinds of things she has cooking up in that big giant pot of stew that she's making, and it's all been simmering and ingredients have been being thrown in there, and it's slowly heating up and getting close to becoming a boil. And so anyway, it's very exciting, and I've of course have been paying attention to it, and I've been teasing all along that hey, things are coming, things are happening. So anyway, I thought rather than me explain it, I'll just ask Debbie to join us and let her hear it direct from the boss's mouth on what's going to happen, this coming year with Spirituality Gone Wild. So that's Friday morning. Alrighty. So Tamara Oviatt tomorrow, Sacred Activations, Debbie G, Vision 2021 for Spirituality Gone Wild on Friday. Alrighty. So now today's monologue is tolerance. And so I woke up this morning and I probably like lots of you, there's certain things that you read on a regular basis. So I have about 3-4 things that I subscribe to in a special email account, so they don't get lost with all the other, many things that, go into my email box. And so I have a special account, and I look at that, and it's just some motivational things. And one of those is Seth Godin. And I've been, for 10 years, I've been reading on a daily basis. I like what, Seth's wisdom. He's not really a spiritual guy, but he is in some ways. He's really a marketing, and he's a business guy. He's a person who works in the business community. And but anyway, I read his blogs, and what I love about Seth is that he has these short little blogs. Usually, like sometimes they're 2 or 3 lines, sometimes they're 2 or 3 paragraphs, and sometimes they're 4 or 5 plus 100 words in there, but that's rare. I mean, they're very short or pithy. So he just takes one idea and he just says something about it. So today, his the title of his blog was Tolerance, and so that's the title of my oh, and let me go ahead and throw I have the link in the comments, so I'm going to go ahead and add that right now to the chat line. Alrighty, there it is. So giving Seth full credit for this idea today. So that is in the comment section, link to his blog post for today, January 20th. Alrighty, so the point he makes, so it's tolerance. So what is tolerance? And he says there's two different definitions, and one is really the physical, and then one is more of the mental or the human interpretation of tolerance. So the physical has to do with parts, machine parts, for example, car parts, as the specific example he uses. But basically, a tolerance is the amount of variance between different parts. And so something with a very high tolerance means that these parts are machined very, very accurately and to within thousandths of an inch. So there's a little bit of a range. There's a little bit of a tolerance. Like, it can be so much this side and so much this side, but it has to fall in the middle of those two things. And what that allows, people who build things, and let's just stick with the car example, these parts, bearings, connectors, sleeves, engine parts, pistons inside the engine block, they all have to have a certain fit. And if they have a nice tolerance, in other words, if they're very precise, then things work very smoothly, and there's no wear and tear, and there's not much friction going on, and everything works smoothly. So that's the physical part of it. So there's less wear, less wobble, better control. Think of your steering thing. If your steering wheel and your parts that connect the tires together, if they're all wobbly and loose, you'd lose control. So that's tolerance there. Now, I wanted to use this example because our guest in the first segment, Stacey, talks about, she's going to talk about the physical exercising and body. And so your body has a certain tolerance, and her whole book that she wrote on the Pilates effect, Joseph Pilates, his whole idea was that the body is, it's like a machine in the sense that things have to line up and they have to work together and they have to be in alignment with each other. And when that all happens, then, your knee joints work better and your muscles work better and everything works. And so his whole philosophy was getting people lined back up again. So that's tolerance, again, from a physical point of view. Now, tolerance from a mental or an intellectual point of view is kind of the opposite. And so it's really, if you're a tolerant person, then you're allowing, and you have a certain amount of openness to you. So you allow others to bring your ideas and creativity to the group. There's a diversity of ideas that are being accepted and brought in there. And if you're intolerant, you don't want to hear what other people have to say. You don't even want to listen to what they say. So tolerant in the human or in the mind or in the intellectual part is being open to something new and different. Now it always has to do with a group setting. If you're not interacting with anybody, I guess, there's no need to be tolerant. Other than you're, tolerant of yourself, I guess, but tolerant really is like when you go and interact with others and then in that group setting. And so Seth points out that you can't undermine the group. You can't allow people, tolerant doesn't mean that anything goes. And so somebody who's completely disruptive and a negative force on what the good of the group is, or what the group's goals are, that's not being tolerant. That's being something else. It's being kind of crazy. Like you're allowing, people to take over and be disruptive. So basically, the group needs to come first is the point that he made. And it's ironic. It was perfect timing with what Stacey's talking about today and what Tammy is going to talk about in allowing space for others. That's really being tolerant of others. And then being Inauguration Day, it was kind of perfect too, because I'm just reminded that our political systems, there is no tolerance for different ideas going on. We have two systems right now that one is thinking this and the other one's thinking that, and there is no meeting in the middle. There's no tolerance for the other people's ideas, and frighteningly, there's no tolerance. There's no tolerance for even people expressing their point of view. And the whole idea of free speech is it's like you're questioning, gee, do we not have free speech anymore, that we can't even say what our opinions are without being shouted down or canceled. So it's a crazy time that we live in right now. The problem with being intolerant is you say, I'm right. And then of course, once you go, I'm right, the other person is wrong, and the end of conversation. So once you decide that you're right, then the only other option for the other side is to be wrong. Alrighty, so in both situations, tolerance. Now, in both situations, both the physical and the mental or intellectual or the human side, tolerance can be a good thing. So when in the physical things, things last longer and run smoother, and certainly your body is going to last longer and run smoother if you keep it in alignment with each other. And then on the mental and the intellectual side, things will last longer and run smoother. Our systems right now, again, like using the political example, our systems seem to be breaking down. So they're not going to last long if there can't be some kind of new level of tolerance for each other. And tolerance doesn't, again, mean that like you agree with me. Okay, I'll be tolerant as long as you agree with what I say. Otherwise, I'm going to be intolerant of you. That's really where we feel like we are. And so, they are the same for both physical or for, physical things and for, the human condition or the intellectual meaning of tolerant. And yet they're opposites, because in the physical, it means exact, precise, no deviation. And in the mental or the intellectual or the human, it's like variety and it's imprecise and it means diversity and many different deviations of what could work and what is open. So anyway, that was borrowed from Seth Godin this morning, his blog post, and I put I put the link in the chat line. So there you go. That's that. So alrighty. So that's the monologue for today. Now, let's do a little shifting gears here. I told you that we have our a new feature. It's going to be a regular feature, and we're going to do it. We're going to do it once a month, or maybe more often. Right now we're going to do it once a month. It's going to be on a Wednesday, and the person doing it is somebody who's familiar to the show. She's been a guest here twice. I've had her on. We talked about her book, The Pilates Effect, and so her segment is going to be the Fitness Misfit segment. So I'm going to go ahead and play her welcoming song and then bring Stacey Redfield on live. Let's see here. Here we go. And here is her theme intro. Hello, Stacey. How are you?
Good morning. Good morning. I loved your topic today, tolerance. Wow, how appropriate and so timely. I love it.
Well, it's appropriate for you because we're going to talk about the physical body tolerances that don't always work. We're going to talk with Tammy, who's coming up after you, and she's going to talk about the, allowing space for others and being tolerant of their ideas. And then, of course, our political system with the inauguration being
I know.
crazy. So I just thought it was too perfect. And so we roll with, just like you, we roll with the way it works around here.
Well, and when you talk about exercise, I mean, tolerance is exactly the same thing because, in the fitness industry, there's so many things that we're told, even like what you see on television, in an infomercial, the shake weight, to me was the dumbest thing that ever came out in the market. But, millions of people bought them because, they don't want to tolerate the actual information that they need to know to take care of their body. So they want something quick and easy. So, these are, we don't necessarily tolerate each other in the fitness industry. Everybody's got their own ideas. Nobody wants to listen to anybody else. I mean, even in the Pilates industry, we have our own politics within our own industry. But it doesn't matter because, ultimately it's, are you getting the information you need? Do you have a healthy body? That's the end result. If you're not getting that, then you need to maybe look at somebody else's ideas and concepts. So yeah, tolerance.
Well, good. So, hey, so we'll get into this exercising idea. But I just want to welcome you to the show, and we're going to do this segment on a once a month basis, and we'll just bring you on, and you'll have a chance to kind of share your wisdom about exercising, about nutrition, about food, maybe some recipes, whatever you want. We're going to leave it up to you to kind of bring in ideas and just have some, help people become more knowledgeable about how to take care of themselves. I mean, that's the spirit of what we're doing. So I'm so welcome. I'm really glad you're here. And,
Thank you.
And I'm not going to read your whole bio, but let me just tell people a little bit about who you are this time since your first segment, and then we'll get into that. But just to remind people, Stacey Redfield is an author, actress, model, spokesperson, and a full-time Pilates teacher. She's been the featured guest here on the American Gumption Morning Show a couple of different times. So welcome back to your own segment this time.
Thank you.
And it's because of her unique style and no-nonsense approach to fitness and wellness that we've asked Stacey to join us regularly for her own Fitness Misfit segment. So welcome. And what do you want to talk about today? What should we discuss?
Well, here, let me get this back together. I'm falling apart already. Well, the first thing, and it was hard to try to structure the segment, so thank you so much for giving me this time. But I think it's important just to address who really needs to exercise and why you need to exercise. Because people just think, I really don't want to need to lose weight. I'm fine with my body. They don't really think about the fact that exercise is really not about losing weight. That's what people think. Okay, we've been told all these years you need to exercise, burn calories to lose weight. That's not what exercise is for. Okay, so, or people don't like the look. I don't want to be a bodybuilder. I don't want to be bulky. I'm too old to exercise. I'm too tired to exercise. I walk every day. Okay, well, that's not exercise. Those are that's an activity. That's not exercise. So exercise should be part of everybody's daily life. I mean, this is no different than, it's not just about losing weight. It's about maintaining your body. So.
But people have this idea of exercising. So I guess what you're saying is that, there's probably a misconception about what exercise really is. That's probably where we should start out at the beginning. It's like you're saying it's not these activities that we participate in, but rather going through a certain, process. So what do you describe as exercise? What does exercise mean to you?
Well, I always say, exercise, you diet to lose weight, okay? You diet. So that has to do with the food you put into your body, the nutrition that your nutritional needs. If you eat French fries every day, your body's not going to like you very much. So exercise is to maintain the structures of your body. That means your bones, your muscles, your respiratory system, your cardio system. All of the systems of the body need some level of maintenance. This is no different than owning a car. Okay, so I always make that analogy of, you own your car, you got to change your oil every once in a while, you got to take put new tires on, you need to take it in for regular maintenance or the car does not run well. Your body is exactly the same thing. We are a living machine. So everything needs some level of maintenance. So it's not just about taking a shower every day. That's just the external part. You need the internal part. That's what exercise is about. It's your daily maintenance for your body.
You said walking is, an activity. Wouldn't walking be a form of exercise if you go out with an intention of, doing 20 minutes of brisk walking and doing some cardio? And, do you differentiate walking from exercising? Tell me about that.
I do. Well, when I was in school, we're in the same age range there. So they were called extracurricular activities. Okay. So walking to me is just the end product of what exercise does. So, when we're born, as babies, first you crawl, then you pull yourself up, and then you walk. So there's a progression there. So walking is the end product. You had to be strong enough in order to get yourself to that particular point in life. Okay, so now you walk. So that's how you become mobile from point A to point B. So yes, walking is a form of exercise. It can be kind of classified as exercise, but you're only hitting a couple of systems of the body. Your heart and lungs, yes, are going to move, and your muscles are going to work, and your bones, yeah, they're not necessarily getting the right amount of exercise in order to keep bones healthy. That's a different type of exercise. So it's what they call weight-bearing exercise, which has nothing to do with lifting weights. There's another misconception. People think if I lift weights, that's weight-bearing. No, that's just weight-bearing on the muscle. You want your muscle to bear weight on your bones, and that's a very, very different process. So when you're out for a walk, yeah, it is exercise because you're getting out there in the fresh air and but that's only affecting your respiratory system and your heart. And if your respiratory system isn't developed properly, you're going to get winded when you walk. If your muscles aren't strong enough to support the structures, your knees are going to hurt, your hips are going to hurt, your back is going to hurt. So there's another step that needs to take place in order to condition those particular parts of the body so that when you go for your walk, it's an enjoyable event instead of a painful event. So there's a difference.
I like the way Stacey, that you said, compared it with like a baby learning how to roll over and then sit up and then stand up. And so there was so that made me think, okay, there's all these different muscles that are involved just to get to the point where we're standing up. And so walking is a standing up activity, but it's not necessarily all of those other muscles and parts that, are involved in, rolling over and sitting up and, doing all those other things. So that's probably what you're saying. Mm-hmm. Good. So, what are people, what's the biggest thing that people could do to become more aware of this? I mean, so like what we're having this conversation, we're saying, hey, maybe you're not even thinking about this in a big enough, broad enough way. What would the beginner who's maybe been taking a walk and thinking, okay, this is a good idea. What would you encourage them to start thinking about?
Well, the first thing that people need to be aware of is that your body has a range of motion. Okay, we have a range of movement. So you should be able to bend over and touch your toes. So I've said this to people coming into the studio the first time I meet them, and I'll have them I do an evaluation just to see what their range of motion is, because your body has this range of motion and it should continue to maintain that for your life. Okay. You don't just get to 50 and say, well, I'm 50, I can't bend over and touch my toes, and be satisfied with that until you're 90. So you're going to go 40 years without being able to bend over and tie your own shoes. I mean, that's just stupid. So, you need to be able to keep some level of flexibility. That level of flexibility is what allows movement. So the less flexibility that you have in your body, you're restricting your movement. So we talk about tightening up muscles, and it's like, okay, well, if you tighten up a muscle, you're not going to be able to move it. Okay. If you flex a muscle, you can't move it until you stop flexing it. So you're lifting weights to me, I said, you're just strengthening stopping. You're not doing anything to strengthen mobility there. You're just strengthening stopping. Nobody sits at your funeral and says, wow, he had awesome muscles. Nobody cares at that point in your life. So your body has to last a lifetime. That's one of my mottos. But, when you start off with something small, I remember basic calisthenics when I was in school. I'm sure you remember them too. Yep. And, it was bending over and touching your toes, jumping jacks, those types of things that you can stretch your body out. You have to start small. People have a tendency to just hit the treadmill January 2nd after they feel guilty for what they did at Christmas, and they crash and burn within the first couple of weeks because their body physically wasn't even ready to get on that treadmill. It's not strong enough to walk. Okay, that's a bad thing. When you get to that realization where your body isn't even strong enough to take a walk, you got to back it up and start from the basics. It is not that hard to do. I mean, your body has your body's programmed. So your muscles already know what to do. You just have to learn how to work the program, basically. So you start small. You start with 15 minutes a day, 20 minutes a day, and you do a couple of exercises, bending over, touching your toes, stretching, jumping jacks, push-ups, these types of things that are basic movements. And then you build from there. You just don't go out there and start running a mile. I mean, it's just not, you are really setting yourself up for failure. So you need to go back to the beginning. For some people, I almost want to take them back to crawling before I bring them upright again. I mean, that's one of the beauties about Pilates is it's very, very basic movements that are done reclining so that you can actually strengthen the body laying down so that when you get up to standing and you take it out for a test run, basically, that you're strong enough to actually keep up with the demands of that particular movement. So once you get to standing, your body is in gravity. The majority of your weight is above your hips. 80% of your body weight is above your hips. Okay, just so if we know the math on that. So you're putting a lot of impact on the structures that are below you. Your knees and your hips are going to take a beating. If your structures above the hips are not strong enough to support your body. So, it's going to hurt. So you want to make sure that everything above the hips is strong enough so that when you get to upright, that you actually have some kind of defense against the impact of just taking a basic walk.
If I'm hearing you correctly, the idea that like going to the gym and like trying to build up like a physique and a bunch of muscle isn't necessarily going to help you live a healthy life where you can reach down and touch your toes at age 60, 70, and 80. But if you were someone who focused more on stretching and keeping the body in alignment and strengthening, from the core and certainly the legs, which support the hips and the legs, which support 80% of the body weight. I learned that from our first interview where you said 80% of the weight is above the hips. It's like, oh my gosh, of course, but nobody ever talks about
Nobody ever breaks it down. I break it down to the math. I mean, I was not really good at math in high school. So when they say you'll never use math outside of high school, they're wrong. You really do use it later on in life. And I was terrible in math. But when I broke it down into percentages, it made so much more sense. And it really defined how the human body is structured. It's really very simple. We make it so hard, and it's really not that complicated. So it's like, keep it simple, is always, the best way to go about it. And, when I look at a gym, I mean, I look at all these machines in there. I'm like, half of them, you don't even need them. I have 2, 3 machines in my studio. That's it. I need 3. I can do anything here on a Pilates machine, better and more efficiently than you can do in a gym full of equipment. So, you really don't need to make it that difficult. We've just made it very, very complicated. And I'm telling you too, it's not that simple either. It's not as simple as sitting on your couch, shaking a weight back and forth. You are definitely not going to get the physical conditioning that your body needs to sustain a lifetime. So that is something that is really important to know. You have to take some level of physical responsibility for your body. You do. I mean, this is no different than you get up, you brush your teeth, you wash your face, you take care of the external structures. You also have a responsibility to take care of the internal structures. And it's not just about the food you're eating. You have to take some level of physical, responsibility for your body. You got to do that. It's just part of owning a human body. This is your property. Okay. You need to take care of it.
It's January 20th. The people coming into your studio, the Pilates studio, and here it is, the Physical Methods Pilates studio in Bethlehem, Pennsylvania, for anybody who's in that area and wants to become part of the thing. Has anybody joined on January 2nd, your studio, and already bailed out and no longer coming? Or do you have a loyal group that has, kind of passed that idea by?
Oh gosh. Let's see. I've had the same clients for 20 years. So once people come, they never leave. Again. So that's it.
And
I
you're
mean,
not forcing them to stay. I mean, they have the option of leaving if they want
they
to.
have the option of leaving anytime. And I'm always one who's like, if I'm not the right person for you, great. But, my goal is to teach people, what they need to know on a health perspective. And it's not even just about, exercising, and doing Pilates. I mean, any kind of exercise that is physically maintaining your body is good for you. I mean, it's not just Pilates, all in. I seem to think it's the best thing out there. That's why I do this. If there was something better for the human, I would do it. I mean, that's my goal is not just Pilates and that's it, Pilates or bust. It's about physical fitness. It's about physically, maintaining a healthy body. I mean, I'm coming up on 60 this year. My goal is to be in the best physically fit, of my life. So I'm on this mission to, eat properly, exercise regularly, to be a role model for my clients. I just don't, talk the talk. So, I mean, if there was a better way of physically maintaining the body, I would be teaching that. This is what I have found is probably the best way to take care of the human body. So that's why I do it. That's why this has been around for 100 years. Every other, fitness fad has come and gone. Pilates is still going strong. And, even coming out of this pandemic, we're coming out stronger than ever because, my clients didn't get sick. It's about health and wellness. So, I'm teaching them, immune boosting smoothies. I should do a segment on that. My immune boosting smoothie, what you can do, to keep your body healthy internally as well from a nutritional side, not just from a physical side. So those two things are very, very separate events. One does not replace the other. Okay. One will never replace the other. You have to make them two separate things.
Stacey, we're going to bring you back on a regular basis. We're not just going to talk strictly about exercise. What are some of the other topics that you'll be sharing in the months to come?
Well, I mean, you talked about, nutritional. I do have a whole slew of recipes that are just based on health and wellness. So I'm happy to share that, show people, how simple it is, on making something that supports the immune system, is also something that, will fill you up. So I talk about meal replacements and I talk about managing your food a lot, so you can't just eat a big meal every day. I mean, people just do that. It's not, you got to manage it, so I did this with my kids growing up. If you had, you can't have cereal for breakfast, a sandwich for lunch and pasta for dinner. It's like, okay, what are we going to do to substitute? So I break it down that way a little bit, makes it a little bit more easier. Talking about nutrition, talking about what's important, how to eat healthy. It's not that difficult. It's just, do we want to? Okay, that's a choice. It's a choice. So, and the same thing with health and wellness, how much exercise do you have to do in a day? People think it needs to be an hour a day. It's not, but it does need to be every day. Okay, mm-hmm. Every day. You brush your teeth every day, I hope. You feed your dog every day, I hope. You feed yourself every day, I hope. So there are things that, exercise is just part of that routine. So I'm saying 15, 20 minutes a day. That's not a lot. That's not a lot. And once you make that a part of your lifestyle, oh geez, we're under construction right now. Sorry for that. So,
that wasn't someone falling off the machine.
It's not, but you would think that they would just put things down gently, but they don't. They kind of slam them down a little bit. So I apologize for that. But, taking care of your body and try to make it last that lifetime. So it's really taking exercise and embracing it, and how to do that very safely and very simply. I start with one exercise. If I can teach you one, I can get you to do two. So what I should do is link into, because I do have some basic videos that are out on my website. So you're always, welcome to go to staceyredfield.com, which is, I believe, in the bottom there. Thank you, rolling across there. And it gives you some really basic 5 exercises you should do every day. I mean, 5 exercises, that's it. Now, I can break it down too for people, how to, because it's discouraging for a lot of people if they've never exercised in their life. It's very discouraging when you first start, because you kind of feel like, it's never going to get better. And it does. It really does. You just have to stick with it. So I would say back it up, do one, that's it, do one. So
Thank you so much. We're going to have to wrap this
I
segment
know. See, we can always talk forever. So,
but that's why we're going to bring you back on a regular basis, because you have lots to share. So we'll be talking about exercise. We'll be talking about nutrition. We'll be talking about different food options that you can have, recipes.
Right.
So happy and grateful that you're part of the our regular programming and team. So thank you so much, and we'll see you next month. Okay.
Bye. Have an awesome day. Thanks a lot, Steve.
All righty. Well, that is Stacey, and let me just throw up her physical her physical methods Pilates studio in Bethlehem, Pennsylvania. If you're in that neck of the woods, then check her out there, or otherwise just go to staceyredfield.com. All righty. So good. So we'll wrap that up, and now we'll shift gears. I was going to play the exit theme, but we'll go ahead and skip that. Now I have our next guest in the green room, ready to go. And she has been a guest here. She was a guest on show number, I think, what did I say it was? Show number 14 back on August 20th. So welcome back to the American Gumption Morning Show, Tammy Joy Lane. How are you? Good morning, Tammy.
Good morning. Thanks for having me back, Steve. So happy.
You look like you're mobile right at the moment.
We're under construction too, so this is the safest place.
All righty. Well, very good. Well, welcome back. Now, the original rule that I established right, at the time when you were one of the guests, is that I had the first time guest welcoming theme. I believe we played that, so we can't play that again for you. But I can go ahead and just let people know a little bit about who you are, and then we're going to jump into our conversation. So Tammy Joy Lane, she says, we live in a high expectation and low appreciation world. We live in a high expectation and low appreciation world. Tammy puts the pre in appreciation and is shifting our culture, our workplaces, and our homes. Tammy believes kindness in business is similar to the automotive industry putting engines in their vehicle. It's not just a top coat of paint, it's the core component that drives. So Tammy is also an Army veteran, a speaker, a coach, and the mother of two adorable young little girls. Welcome back to the show, Tammy. Gratefully. And she's my friend, and she's been a mentor and mentee of mine for at least 5 years, 6 years, something like that. So you are now in Washington State. Are you on your way to or from your job, or are you just camping out there because it's a quiet place to conduct business?
Yes, it's the only place with a locked door.
Okay, those two little adorable girls would not be so adorable if we were inside the house at this moment.
Yes.
Hey, so we were going to, talking about today, and anybody can go back to show number 14. It was on the 20th of August, show number 14. They're all labeled that way. And, we told your whole story. We talked about the Army. We talked about the bombs that went off when you were like in, and it was like you kind of get used to this big adrenaline rush, and then you come back to civilian life, and it's like, there's no bombs going off other than girls chasing you down, but that's years later anyway. And so the whole, post-traumatic stress disorder that affects so much of our soldiers, and you've worked with, suicide prevention. You've had your own bouts with it. So we talked all about that. We're not going to go through all that. But you really have said kindness, and your website, Yes to Kindness, you want to make the world this like a little gentler, kinder place. And you said the pre in appreciation. And I got a text message right as I'm going on the show today that said, I'm going to do great. And you're giving me a pre, which I so much appreciate. So this has become your brand, kind of that, to just talk a little bit about your brand, and that you want to like say thank you before, as opposed to after.
Well, the kind of magic in it is, if you think about it, the pressure is before. If you have an event coming up, if you're speaking at an event, if you're doing a podcast, the pressure is before. After, you're like over it and on to the next thing. So it's just simply changing the timing of something you're going to do anyways. And it just basically paves a pathway of awesomeness in your life because instead of looking for what's wrong, I'm always looking for what's right and what can I appreciate to accentuate the appreciation and kind of lift people up and expect that they are going to do good and bring out more good.
And I remember a conference that we went to. You sent thank you notes to the speakers beforehand. You actually did a little handwritten card and a thank you, and that doing that was so unusual. And these people who received those were kind of so blown away. And what did it do for in terms of like creating a friendship or a relationship with these people?
Well, so usually when I would go to a conference, I would know who's speaking and be like, oh, I can't wait to meet them. But what these cards did is I had people saying, come find me at the conference. Like they were looking for me. And it just created this. It started the conference early because always on the last day of the conference, I'm like, I wish this could go on, but it just extends the beauty of the conference and starts to create the relationships way before it even starts.
And then when you do have, because these conferences are going like a mile a minute, when you do have just even that short little interaction, it's more meaningful than if you had just gone up cold and started, said something. They wouldn't necessarily remember you, but now they do remember you. They do remember that little interaction. And then they're like, oh, you can continue that relationship and that friendship. So I think it's a wonderful way, in our instant gratification world, it's like a subtle little way to differentiate and to make connections last. And so anyway, I think it's a great thing. What we talked about doing, creating space for people and for ourselves to be human. I think let's focus on that and let's go a little bit deep on it. Creating space for people to be human. What does that mean to you?
So I feel like we're so jam-packed. We pack our day, we pack our lives. It's just like thing after thing after thing. And we don't book in the space for life to happen, for flat tires, for someone to have to pee, for like all these things. We're just like so cram-packed. I mean, sometimes I'll sit down at a restaurant and say, do you need to go have a smoke break? Like, are you okay? Do you need to breathe a second? Because you can stand here at my table and be human. Like just letting you know I'm going to be an easy table. So thank you in advance, And it's just creating these bumpers to be human. And when something goes wrong or something's not perfect, instead of reacting and freaking out, you just kind of, you just breathe through it and realize, and then that's where you look for the magic, because the pattern we have is an event happens and then we react and then we miss everything. One of those conferences, I had a meeting with a guy and I'm sitting in the hotel lobby and he never showed up. And my initial reaction is look at the clock and start making up how inconsiderate he is and all this stuff. But instead I just sat back and I'm like, I wonder why I'm here. And this guy from Australia ended up sitting down and we talked and it was like, that is why I was there. But if I would have been so angry that someone was human, I would have missed that. And those are the tiny moments. If anything ever goes wrong in your life, literally look back, breathe and say, why am I really here? Because the universe has way bigger plans than we have for ourselves. We're remodeling our kitchen and it was all messed up and it's towards the end and we're getting edgy and we want our kitchen back. And I said, listen, just let's sit back and figure it out. Everything is figure outable. My friend told me that last week and I'm like, everything is figure outable. And if you just live with that lifestyle, it just feels good. And it just feels good to think it's all going to be okay.
Yeah, I like that, Tammy. And when you said that, how do we react when things don't go quite as we want them to? And do we get into like a flight or fright kind of like adrenaline, or do we use like a chance to just take a deep breath and, let it just sort of be? And where in my own life I've added that component is in using technology. And because of the show and because of the different tools that I use to organize my life, there's like little delays in between. Like I can think faster than the computer can keep up with me when I'm shifting gears sometimes. And so I've learned to put those little tiny spaces in that the computer is going to force me to take, and like kind of like take a deep breath right then and not be annoyed with that it's taking so long and that impatient thing. So in that case, I'm interacting with a machine, but you're saying, can we do this with the people that we meet?
Yeah. And just everyone doesn't have to be on all of the time. And if someone's irritating to me, I sit back and instead of, especially with my kids, I'm like, okay, why is this so bugging me? And a lot of the times it's because I do that thing that is so annoying. And I've been late and I've missed appointments. And so if you pause and think back to your entire life and think, have I ever done this to anyone? Probably. You've probably been less than perfect. And the way I got safe to be human, my friend from NSA, do you know her, Karen Eddington?
I do know Karen.
Okay, she gave a TED Talk. I got to send it to you. And she talked about that. And I have not let that go because it just makes me cry that we live in a world where it's perfection or bust. It's all or nothing. You're there or gone. And I realized I would only show up if I was perfect, and then I would just be absent. And then one day I thought, I can't do my makeup every day. I can't look so fabulous every day because, I mean, I probably could, but I got other things to do. And I would just show up kind of sometimes a hot mess. And that's kind of where I found the magic, was in the mess. And just realizing life is messy and that's okay.
One of the things you've talked about is basking in the glory when things go wrong, and I think I understand where you're going with it, but I also was like, well, I don't want to glorify something going wrong, but I do want to find the good in that situation. So what do you mean when you say how can we embrace failure and bask in the glory if something doesn't go the way it's supposed to go? And so normally people are like kind of annoyed at that point. So do we want to really bask in the glory, like celebrate it, or what are you talking about there?
Okay, so a lot of times it's easier to celebrate looking back, but since I'm fresh on a remodel, I'll just use this example. Probably 8 months ago, and what we did is we put the floor down. We measured where the cabinets were going to go and put the floor down, which you don't want to do. You want to put the floors in last. And I had this picture in my head. I wanted some more outlets in the island and all this stuff. And when we got the cabinets, the measurements weren't right. And my husband wanted to say, I told you so. And I'm like, I take this responsibility because I wanted the floors in for all these months. I didn't want just some sheetrock. And so what ended up happening is it opened this mistake opened up space for us to add in the extra 2x4s to get exactly what I wanted. So sometimes if you look at a mistake, a failure, as a pathway to getting what you really want, because sometimes we cannot see the whole picture. It's got to be this way. This is how I want it. But all these mistakes have turned out to being better than they would have been if it would have gone right.
Yeah. So you what seemed like at the first glance, it's like, okay, this isn't the way it was supposed to work out. And then you found that good in it, and you actually turned it into being a better situation for you.
Yeah.
And I, hey, I'm guilty of these exact same thing. And I'll just throw it out there. Spirituality Gone Wild. Debbie G, our founder, is going to be on Friday, and she's going to kind of give our vision of what's happening. And yet I also am privy to some of the behind the scene challenges that we're having. And I was talking about the computer not keeping up with as fast as I want it to go sometimes. And, it's the same thing within an organization where, like the vision gets laid out, but the details to support that vision aren't necessarily in place. And so you can go into the rabbit hole of, gee, this doesn't work and this isn't right. And nobody bothered to think about this particular thing in advance. And you can get yourself all wound up and annoyed, or you can go, okay, what can we do to, beef up that piece that's missing and support the structure that is already kind of happening, but there's some pieces missing. There's those 2x4s that are missing to hold up a certain thing that you want. So,
yeah, it's just, as I go forward and I try new things, I fail and I mess up. I mean, I sell postcards and I create them. I printed 5,000 postcards with a typo. And I realize I see what I want it to say. So I'm not the editor. And as I threw away 5,000 postcards, my friend said, it's just paper. It's just paper. And so I could stop creating because I'm not the editor, or I can embrace that I have the initial idea and then I need people that are good at that. And it's just like, you have a team. I love that. I love that. Sometimes it's just too hard going alone and going forward. And if we could sometimes it's easier to go alone because you can do your own thing. But it's magic when you can sit back and let people in. And it's just like we all need each other. But sometimes we get stuck in, I don't want to deal with anyone else's drama. And it's just, that's life.
I think it's important that we allow that space that we started the conversation with to, you said that, we're not building it in. We're not allowing it to just be kind of part of it. So we have such a tight schedule and such a tight idea of what things have to be. And the minute something doesn't occur that way, it kind of throws us off. And if you build in, or you maybe not build in as much as we just allow some pivots and some allowing to occur, it seems like it can make life a lot better. And when you when you give someone that space to be human, to make a mistake, they usually come back a lot stronger than if you shame them and should them. Yeah. Well, good. What's going on in Tammy's world? When we first met you, since we've met, you have moved at least 5 or 10 times with these little girls. These girls were barely, walking when we first met, and then your husband and you have traveled around the country from east to west. Now you're up in the Northwest. You've got a house that's being remodeled with apparently a setback or two, but it's not throwing you off course. How's life in general?
So I appreciate the conversation before me, because I'm working on getting in alignment and slowing down and getting more focused, because I kind of get an idea and I zing off, and I get an idea and I zing off. So I'm kind of just working on, I got to get in alignment. That's just, so I'm just kind of slowing down up here.
Good.
Like a good slowing down.
Well, I know that you, since we've had this relationship for 5+ years, and I've seen lots of big ideas come, and you run out of the gate fast, and then you realize like maybe I'm heading in the wrong direction, or I forgot to turn at the turn, and that sort of thing. So anyway, I just I appreciate that you're a friend of mine, a friend of the show, and you're always encouraging, and you're always putting that pre into appreciation and reaching out. And so I just think it's great what you're doing, and the world needs more of it. So keep it up. Keep up the good work.
Thank you. You too, Steve. You too.
It looks like it's cold there. You got a warm coat on. Is it cold in the Northwest?
It's 42 degrees.
Oh, that's pretty cold, isn't it? Yeah. Yeah. All right. Well, very good. Well, I hope they get your kitchen finished soon, and I hope that you can have a place that when the next time we meet, you don't have to run out to the car and do it. But that might be a few more years until you put locks on the door or something. I don't know what it is.
That's on the list.
All righty. Well, any last words of wisdom for the audience, or anything you'd like to share? I should say Yes to Kindness. Let's remind people, go to Yes to Kindness. Tammy does have a postcard business. So if you are someone who likes the idea of doing this pre and appreciation, she has these different cards that are already made up. You can pick out, the one that, works for you, and, she'll get them sent out to you. And then you'll learn also about what Tammy's doing in the rest of her life and world.
Awesome. Thank you. The last thing I would say is just, it's all okay. Just breathe, slow down. It's going to be okay. And just give that grace, give that space, and bring back that it's okay to be human, and integrate failure as a part of success. It's not the opposite of success, and love people through the suck. You have to suck before you can be great at something. And it sucks to suck. It's just better to do something you're good at.
Yeah.
But just loving people through, seeing them, encouraging, lifting people up, and reaching out to say, I need to be lifted up because this is harder than I thought, and asking for what you need to. So.
All righty. Well, thank you, Tammy, for joining us this morning. We appreciate your friendship to the program, and you've encouraged me, and you've I'm a better person because of my friendship with you. So thank you so much.
Thank you, Steve. Thank you.
All righty. We'll see you again next time. Wow. Well, Tammy is, as I said, a friend of the show, a friend of mine. And if anything that, she talked about as far as this pre and these cards that she has, if you want to just, do something the old fashioned way, write a little hand note. She's got these beautiful cards that are available, and you can, get an order of them, and then you can send them out to your friends, because people will like that. They'll get a card in the mail and they'll go, oh my gosh, look at this. Look what arrived for me. So go to yestokindness.com. That's Tammy's contact information. All righty. Well, that's it for the show today, folks. We will be back tomorrow. Tamara Oviatt is going to join us. Sacred Activations. That's her special brand of connecting to source energy. So Tamara will explain all about what sacred activations are all about and how it came to be. And on Friday, our very own Debbie G will give us a Vision 2021 for spirituality gone wild. And that's going to be a fun show. So both shows will be fun. So join us tomorrow, and then join us again on Friday. And that's it for today, folks. Have a great rest of your day. I sure appreciate everybody coming by. Bettina says, powerful message. Thank you, Bettina. We appreciate your friendship to the show. I hope you have a great day. Tammy is coming from your neck of the woods out in the Pacific Northwest. So it's a Pacific Northwest day for us here. All right. Have a great day, everybody. We'll see you all tomorrow.